Those in attendance will please acknowledge your attendance.
Harvey.
Hold on a second.
Senator Vogel?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will get started with calling those individuals who are not members of the committee to present their legislation, beginning with Senator Spruill with Senate Joint Resolution 293.
And our clerk. (293) is direct the Joint Commission of Health Care to study available data regarding assisted living and auxiliary grants and develop a blueprint for implementing recommendations that will allow the Commonwealth to provide a more realistic system of addressing housing and care for the needed. That's all it does, just for a study. I think we have people in the queue to speak, Madam Chair.
Are there questions to Senator Spruill from the committee before we go to our speakers?
I like that jacket.
Okay, I believe we have speakers who wish to speak to Senate Joint Resolution 293. We will call in our speakers.
Yes, Madam Chair. We have Director Colleen Miller.
Colleen Miller.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Colleen Miller. I'm the director of the Disability Law Center of Virginia. We do support this resolution and this study. We have a fair amount of experience with monitoring conditions in assisted living facilities and working with people who are under the auxiliary grants. And we would be very, very happy to help the Joint Commission with this study in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Emily Hardy, please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Emily Hardy, and I'm an elder lawyer with Virginia Poverty Law Center. For the reasons that Colleen just stated and for adequate quality residential supports for low-income Virginians, we support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janet Arison, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. The Virginia Municipal League supports this wholeheartedly. We think it's time to have a study of the auxiliary grant program because it's been more than 20 years since it's been given a good look over, and a lot has changed in there. And it's a good time to look at what its good points are and also where it is not so great, and that maybe there are other funding streams that could help assist vulnerable adults living in these situations. And we appreciate your time and hope you will support this measure.
Thank you.
Martina James, please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Martina James, and I'm with the Virginia Association of Area Agencies on Aging. We absolutely support this bill and this work. The auxiliary grant beds are a critical piece to aging Virginians and a critical piece to the continuum of care, and it's a piece that's broken. And so we really feel it's necessary to have this done, and we hope you'll support it as well.
Thank you.
Katie Boyle, please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Katie Boyle with the Virginia Association of Counties. We're also in favor. I staff our Health and Human Resources Steering Committee, and we've been having some conversations about how aging Virginians can be supported in the community, especially aging Virginians of limited means. We'd sent a letter to the Joint Commission on Healthcare, encouraging them to take a look at long-term care and what a modern day safety net should look like and how it should be funded. And we think this would be an important element of that study, and appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
David Westcott, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. David Westcott on behalf of the City of Chesapeake. We're honored to have Senator Spruill carry this item for us and for all older Virginians. This bill will not, or this resolution will not only help those in Chesapeake, but across the Commonwealth, and we ask that you support the bill.
Thank you.
Elise Pugh, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Elise Pugh?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elise Pugh. I'm the program manager for the Chesapeake Department of Human Services. I also support the bill. I think the bill will be beneficial to our seniors and senior population in providing quality housing at a better rate and better living conditions.
Thank you.
Jeff Lunardi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jeff Lenardi, Executive Director of the Joint Commission on Healthcare. We certainly mean no harm. I think it's an important issue worthy of consideration. I'm just here representing our members on the Joint Commission who have respectfully requested that Joint Commission on Healthcare studies be referred to the Joint Commission so that our members can manage our workload and prioritize these studies in terms of when they can be completed.
And our final speaker, Toya Kojo, please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I am Toya Kojo from the Chesapeake Department of Human Services. I just wanted to say that we wholeheartedly support this effort, and we also support any efforts to refer to committee, so that they can appropriately manage their workload and possibly align with current studies that are happening.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
It's a worthy subject. I'm just wondering if there's anybody here from the Joint Commission on Healthcare to tell us a little bit about their workload and whether they've got the bandwidth to accept new studies.
I think Senator Barker.
Yes. Yeah, there are a couple of us who are members of the Joint Commission on Healthcare. I was interim chair of it for a period of time in the last year. And Jeff Lenardi is our new executive director of the commission. He came from JLARC, and I think he's going to do a great job there. We already have identified some topics for major study for this coming calendar year, the calendar year we're in now. I think there may be an opportunity to take at least some review on this. The Joint Commission did look at this issue about 3 or 4 years ago. What was significant was it was found that we have actually a robust private assisted living operations within Virginia. The problem is that there's limited public support for those people who do not have resources to be able to afford the private rates. And the auxiliary grant program is what is used in this particular instance in most situations, and that pays less than 30% of what it costs to provide the care. So what you have is every year the number of people who are on the auxiliary grant program in assisted living facilities is decreasing because the facilities cannot continue to provide the number of slots that they had previously, the number of beds that they had previously for people on the auxiliary grant program, when they're losing more than 70% of their costs on every person that they take in that program. So that is part of what we have to look at here, but we studied it a few years ago, and did not end up with getting a major increase in reimbursement rates. So it's certainly worth pursuing, and we could try to figure out how we can deal with it as quickly as we can. But it clearly is a major issue that does need to be addressed. And I thank Senator Spruill for bringing it presenting this today.
So rather than saying direct, can we say refer to them for consideration?
I think that would be good, and I think that that we'll do whatever we can in terms of making sure that it's done as quickly as we can accommodate that. We are in the process of hiring some additional staff right now, so I think we may have an opportunity to be able to do at least a significant take on it during this particular year, and then we'll see what we need, what might be needed to be done further after this year.
Madam Chair, requests would be a better.
Okay, so is that okay with you, Senator Spruill? Request the Joint Commission?
Fine, me, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been, can you, okay, the amendment is to request the Joint Commission. Is there a second? Okay. It's moved and seconded that we amend it to say requests. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Those opposed? Okay, so is there a motion
Move the
on?
report is amended.
Okay. Moved and seconded that SJ 293 be reported as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Thank you, Senator Sproul.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll now move to SJ 309, Senator Chase.
Senator Chase is on the line, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Joint Resolution is a constitutional amendment that would once again introduce term limits. This is a constitutional amendment that limits members of the Senate to 3 full terms or 12 years, and members of the House of Delegates to 6 full terms of 12 years. The limitations apply to service for both consecutive and non-consecutive terms. Service for partial term does not preclude serving the following number of terms. In addition to any partial term, a person may serve 12 years in each house or a total of 24 years in the General Assembly. The limit applies to terms of services beginning on or after the start of the 2022 regular session of the General Assembly. Madam Chair, I know that this is not to offend any of those in the room here today, but one of the initiatives that I ran on when I first ran back in 2015 was a number of my constituents who said that they were concerned about career politicians. And as if you all remember, I challenged a 27-year career politician and did win. That said, I have a lot of experience in running campaigns, and I'm probably the exception to the rule. As many of you all know, because we've all run for re-election in this room, there are basically incumbent protections in place. Many of the members receive extra monies from PACs and lobbyists that donate to our campaigns typically. And we also have name ID issues where most people, generally speaking, have heard of our names, and this is to create a more equal playing field for folks that would want to run for office. I think one of the things that I love so much about the General Assembly is that we are citizen legislators, and we don't do this full time. We have full-time real jobs as well. And I know that some of the arguments have been, well, there's a term limit every 4 years in the Senate and every 2 years in the House. But Madam Chair, I would argue that it is very difficult for people to run against incumbents because of, as I mentioned earlier, the name ID, and then also monies that most legislators receive from PACs and lobbyists. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do have several speakers in the queue that would like to speak in favor of my bill, if that would be acceptable, please.
Okay, I would like to limit speakers to 2 minutes on this SJ 309, so please bring them in.
Vic Nichols, you're our first speaker, and if you'd like to speak in support of the bill, please raise your hand.
Yes, thank you very much. My video is messed up. I am in total support of what Senator Chase is trying to do. This is the first time that we've actually had something that the regular people want. Look, it's good enough for the president on having term limits. It's good enough for everyone else. And after sitting here watching a group of people put down bills so that they don't get their campaign donations from Betco, I am more and more in favor of this. This is the vote for the people, not for career politicians who don't listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Jody Piles, please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Jody Piles. I'm a business owner in Radford, in Virginia, in the Pulaski County area. Personally, I am 100% in support of this bill for term limits. I think that having career politicians in a House, it takes them out of the business market for the most part, and they don't really understand. They lose grasp of reality, in all honesty, and it enables, honestly, most politicians' narcissistic and self-centered behavior. And I think if we have limits on people like the governor and the president, and they're at the head, we should definitely have limits on the neck that turns the head. Thank you.
There are no more hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, there are no additional speakers. Anyone on the committee have any comments? Okay, this is a recorded vote.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to comment one thing, having considered, and I've talked to a lot of constituents about this over the years. In the context of a part-time General Assembly, by applying term limits, I think the effect of this is essentially losing significant institutional knowledge and transferring much of that power to lobbyists who remain here for decades and decades and become really the institutional experts. Applying to this to federal, where you have a full-time legislature, I'd probably agree with it. But where you have a citizen legislator that is part-time, the amount of time it takes to build up expertise is significant. That issues that sometimes last decades, excuse me. And for that reason, I'd defer to the other senator for the motion. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
Yeah, very briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is an important issue. I don't make light of it. I'm a little bit of a unique situation. I defeated an incumbent to get here, and I defeated an incumbent to get to the House, and I get defeated an incumbent to get onto City Council. So it does happen. Having said that, I thought at the time I was a brilliant politician. Actually, Fairfax County was becoming much more democratic, and that's what enabled that. But I do think this is an important issue. I tend to agree with Senator McPike that because we're part-time, especially in the state Senate, it's really critical to have some degree of institutional memory. And I as a younger member, would butt heads against it, and I probably still will. But I do think it's important to have members like Senator Lucas and Sasslaw and Howell and Locke who've been here, not discounting anyone else, Norman, that we do have an institutional memory that at least gives us a baseline of experience. So I will join the motion to PBI.
Senator Edwards.
Madam Chair, I agree with what the others have said, but further, this is what California did, and California is virtually ungovernable because of the term limits. And I hope we PBI the bill.
Senator Sasslaw.
Madam Chair, I'll second the motion.
There's a motion to pass by indefinitely Senate Resolution 309. All those in favor, please vote. Those opposed have the same right.
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The motion passes. Thank you, Senator Chase.
Thank you.
Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Rules Committee. I have a bill for you, or two resolutions for you, but what I'd like to do, I'm asking for you to report the Senate resolution, and if you do that, you don't have to worry about the joint resolution. That was based on conversations with our chair. The resolution that I'd request that you consider reporting is Senate Resolution 95. And what Senate Resolution 95 seeks to do is create a commemorative commission. It would have our rules chair create that commission. She would appoint the members. One of the members would be our clerk of the Senate, and also our rules chair, and then 4 other senators. And that commemorative commission is to put effort into getting a Booker T. Washington statue here in the old Senate chamber. I really believe that Booker T. Washington needs to be honored in Capitol Square. He's a great American and great Virginian, but Virginia doesn't get as much credit as we should for this great Virginian that did so much for the country. Booker T. Washington was born in Franklin County that I represent, close to what's now Smith Mountain Lake. There's a wonderful national site there that I encourage folks to visit, especially on Juneteenth is especially a good day to visit, where they recount Booker T. Washington's final hours before he finds out he's emancipated. And it is very exciting to see what this young, ambitious black boy who has great goals in life, living in slavery, and he hears that the Union troops are approaching, and there's rumors of what they might say when they get there. And he talks about how he hopes to learn to read and how he hopes to have, he very much wants to become a greatly educated person. And that happened here in Virginia. And then he received a great deal of that education at what's now Hampton, where our chair of rules is the dean. And then he took that education all over the United States, but especially at Tuskegee, and thousands of Americans and families benefited from the educations they received there so that their families could have much better livelihoods that they ever had before. And later in life, the General Assembly, which at the time was doing a lot of things that we're not very proud of, actually voted to go hear Booker T. Washington speak here in the Commonwealth. And that's documented in Up From Slavery, which is fantastic. It's a short read, but phenomenal use of time right there to read it. And very few people know that he's a Virginian, though. And despite these strong Virginian ties, I very much would like to see him honored here at the Capitol. I appreciate your all support last year. I wanted a statue outside. I was told that statues outside, good luck getting the physical space. We'll see what happens with that. I wanted to put it in the old House chamber because, especially the way the old House chamber was constituted last year, I thought that Booker T. Washington, that would be the best place to put him in the Capitol. I took it to House Rules. They did not share your wisdom, and they're not making really use of the chamber one way or the other right now. I would like us to put it in the old Senate chamber. That's what this resolution seeks to do. What exactly how the statue comes to be, that will be something for the commemorative commission to decide. I've got some ideas on it, but that would be up to the commission. And so I request you favorably act on the Senate resolution.
Thank you, Senator Sudaline. Are there questions?
Move to report.
Question, Madam Chair.
I like Senator Edwards' question.
I move to report. It's a great idea.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Resolution 95 be reported. We don't have any speakers.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question of the patron. I believe the senator from James City County had a bill that has passed this body as well, dealing with the review by the Capital Preservation Council. Does this bill similarly do that, or does it not seek the council's advice in terms of placements of arts, statues, and the likewise?
Madam Chairman, I believe the bill that Senator McPike is making reference to focuses more from the removal as opposed to the placement. I must say I'm not effusive in the receptiveness of the House on that matter, even though it's passed unanimously out of the Senate twice.
Madam Chair, the council would review whatever the piece is, whether it's a bust or statue. They would review it and give suggestions if they have any. They don't have, right now, they don't have the authority to deny it or accept it, but they do weigh in on the quality of the work, that type of thing.
Any other
Madam
questions?
Chair, as a follow-up,
Yes, Senator McPike.
I guess just want to make sure our guidance is sort of consistent. If we're going to have something, I'd prefer to have an affirmative sort of review by the Capital Preservation Council to be consistent as a friendly amendment.
I'd second that amendment.
Was that Senator Vogel?
That's Senator Favola.
Senator Favola, okay.
Yeah.
You have a problem with that?
So Madam Chair.
Senator Dietz.
The amendment you're proposing is that the commission review whatever the Booker T. Washington Commission proposes?
My question then would be, have they done that on anything else that's been done?
Well,
I thought it was just a review.
don't they already have to do that?
They are, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, they are an advisory council. They were formed when many state capitals started renovating across the country. They are an advisory board made up of landscape architects, historians, and they confer with DGS on, say, Old City Hall, the facade of the new GAB. They also reviewed the Indian tribute as it made its way through its design and construction, and also the women's monument. So they review these things and they make they make recommendations. Some are not in favor of something that's been done, but they are an advisory-only council.
Madam Chair,
Senator.
I think the clerk of the Senate just gave a great response. So there's very little to add to that, but I think that there will be the discussion about Senator Norman's bill, and we'll see what happens with that. There's a lot of question about the House chamber. The House has taken the position that currently the Speaker has authority over it. I believe that the Senate has authority over the Senate chamber if that's the situation. And I think that what this commission would do, I mean, it's very careful to make that the chair of it will be the chair of the Senate Rules Committee. And then she will then appoint the other members of it. So it's going to not just be a group of folk. The other folks will be on it, will be other senators. So this is going to be folks that have a very significant personal investment in the Capitol, and that things are done right, and that's why this has been drawn the way it is. And you also have the clerk of the Senate so you know 2 of the members, and the other 4 would be selected by our chair, or your chair rather.
And I think we're kind of getting into the weeds.
Yeah, we are.
Second.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator McPike.
I'll be brief. I just want to make sure we're consistent. Without the disposition, a favorable disposition of Senator Norman's bill, which we know what occurred last year, and special for that, I just want to make sure that this body is also sending a consistent message in terms of how we are approaching these. And so that's why I suggested the amendment of the affirmative, at least review, maybe not approval, but the affirmative review of the Capital Preservation Council. Otherwise, it may appear that we're being inconsistent as a body. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I could go either way. Inconsistent. Oh, dear.
Consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds.
Okay, so what is the motion?
How would you change it? Jeremy.
Madam Chair, I believe there was a pending motion on amendment
So the amendment is what?
to include the review of the Capital Preservation Council included in its report, and Madam Clerk can assist maybe with the appropriate language to support in a friendly manner.
Okay, so, and that was a second on that amendment?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment to include the review, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that amendment is included. Now we need a motion. It's moved and seconded that Senate Resolution 95 be reported as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so now that we've passed that resolution, we now no longer need SJ 291. So,
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your and the committee's support of the Senate resolution. I would ask that you simply let the Senate joint resolution go by for the day, and I will not ask for any further consideration of it.
I'll make that motion.
okay, so SJ 291 will go by for the day without objection. Thank you, Senator Sutherland.
Thank you very much.
We will now go back to the new legislative studies and actions with SB 1273, Senator Deeds.
Okay. In 2017, largely with the help of former senator from Suffolk, Delegate Jones, former delegate from Suffolk, we passed a joint resolution to create a study commission for mental health. It was a 4-year study commission. Shortly after we began that work, we found out that it wasn't going to be a 4-year study commission because I was very naive when we started the work, thinking we could get it done in 4 years. It's one of the, what I've found is that behavioral health issues are very complex, and the issue is something that requires the constant work and constant study and constant re-examination. So we created this joint study committee in 2014 for 4 years. We extended it by 2 years through different actions, I guess, in the budget and through the passage of an additional joint study resolution. What I'm trying to do now, or what we're trying to do, because this is a recommendation of the commission, is that we create a permanent commission to study behavioral health. This will do a couple of things. It'll, number one, give us a vehicle to continue to carry on the work beyond, so when Senator Gartland was here, there was a permanent commission that was folded after he left into the Joint Commission on Healthcare. The Joint Commission on Healthcare had a behavioral health subcommittee, but that behavioral health subcommittee didn't really look at these issues, and actually the chairman of that subcommittee, while it still existed, our Delegate Scott Garrett, because my first idea was to fold the Joint Subcommittee on Mental Health into the Joint Commission on Healthcare. He asked that we not do that several years ago, and so I've kind of refocused on creating a permanent commission on mental health. What this resolution does simply carries forward the membership and the purposes of the Joint joint subcommittee into this permanent commission. We would have envisioned that it would begin on October 1 of this year, and we would, I think, we're probably going to need an enactment clause, and I don't know whether you're going to need to add this here or in the Finance Committee, that if it's not funded, that we continue the work of the joint subcommittee for another year or two. But I don't want this to be a personality-driven process. These are critically important issues in every corner of the Commonwealth, and I think that we need to create a permanent vehicle so that we can continue to work for the day when we can provide services to people in need wherever they are in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the reality is right now there are huge disparities that continue to exist throughout the Commonwealth.
Madam Chair,
Senator Howell.
just to clarify, this will not need to go to Finance.
It will not?
It will not. Bills that come out of here don't need to go to Finance, unlike other committees.
Okay, well we may, I think we may want to enact we may want to put an enabling call or enactment clause on this bill that says in the event that funding is not in the budget, in the final budget, that this joint subcommittee will continue for a year, because otherwise it's set to expire at the end of this at the end of 2021.
Madam Chair, that makes sense in the case that it might not pass in the other body, but we will fund it in the Senate budget if it passes the Senate. And it does not need to go to Finance to get there.
Okay, well, there will be plenty of opportunities then to figure out how to continue the joint subcommittee if we have to, through the budget. If not, that works.
I guess, Madam Chair, hearing the discussion,
Senator Viola.
I move that we report this
Second.
Senate Bill 1273.
Hold on, I think we may have, is there someone signed up to speak on this?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one.
Yes.
Elizabeth Bolden Clopton, please go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Bolden Clopton. I represent VOCAL, which is the statewide advocacy group for peer recovery mental health, peer recovery from mental health issues. And I want to thank the Commission for the work that they've done. It's been very helpful across the Commonwealth, and we do appreciate that time. We have a saying, though, nothing about us without us. And I think I would humbly request that you consider adding to section 30.403 or 30-403, citizen stakeholders, peers who are users and supporters of the mental health community. We would like to be participants and contribute to the ongoing work of the Commission. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, and if I could respond to that public comment, let me, Madam Chair. In 2014, I was concerned about this because it seemed like every decade or so there were studies about mental health that included the universe of people that were involved in those studies, and the studies went on shelves and libraries and book rooms, and they gathered dust and nothing got done. And I wanted specifically members of the General Assembly to be on the commission, because I wanted those members to become invested in solutions for some of these problems. Now, honestly, over the last, I guess, 5 years that we've done this work, we could not have 6 years, I guess, that we've done this work. We could not have done it without the input of people that are served by the system, people whose family members are served by the system, because there's nothing about the joint subcommittee's work or about this resolution that prevents us from setting up work groups to allow input. But my view is that the people who vote on these things ought to be people that end up having to carry them and vote on them in the legislature. That was the thinking in the beginning, and it's still my thought.
So thank you, Senator Deeds. Do we have a motion on Senate Bill 1273?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question to the patron. I see that you've got the composition sort of balance issue, 5 of the Senate and 7 of the House, but you've resolved it through sort of the requiring the majority for each. Having said that, would you be amenable to have on the statement where it says at least 2 of whom shall be members of the Senate Committee of Education and Health, change that to 1 from Rehab and Social Services and 1 from Ed and Health, just because of the nature of also the substance use that
Sure.
and other behavioral health occurs in rehab?
Madam Chair, I would say to Senator McPike that that language was Delegate Jones' language from 2014, and I'm amenable to any sort of amendment that ensures that Rehab and Social Services is represented on the commission. The numbers, I just carried forward the numbers that we had before when we adopted this resolution in 2014, but I did include the language that requires that a majority of the House members and a majority of the Senate members have to be in agreement before anything's adopted by the commission.
So, Madam Chair, I'd move the amendment to revise the language for 1 of the members shall be from Rehab and Social Services, and then 1 from the Committee of Education and Health would be the amendment, and so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment include 1 member from Rehabilitation and Social Services and 1 member from Education and Health. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? So that amendment carries. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Madam Chair, I move that we report Senate Bill 1273 as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1273 be reported as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. No, we have to vote on this.
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Ayes 14, noes 0.
Ayes 14, noes 0. Senate Bill 1273 is reported. So we now move to Senate Bill 1173. Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I think Senator Norman went on to another meeting.
Okay, he blew his opportunity. Okay, we got 2 other pieces to go through. Senate Joint Resolution 288, Senator Lucas, and then we will have Senate Joint Resolution 323. I'm sorry, Senator Sasslaw. Let's do Senator Sasslaw, if he can stop talking. Sasslaw, Senate Bill 1473. Huh? 1473.
Health insurance and or provider benefits, or has anything to do with deductibilities, anything dealing with health insurance and provider benefits or coverage, would go, the chair of Commerce and Labor in House or Senate would send it to the Health Insurance Reform Commission first for review. And then it would be heard. That Senator Barker, had authored this originally, but got transferred to me. I think I accurately described.
Yes, what it does, it makes it clear as to what types, what bills that would come in would be referred to the Health Insurance Reform Commission. There's been some ambiguity on that because there was no definition of a term in there, and this just provides clarification to make sure that all the things that need to go to the Health Insurance Reform Commission are referred there.
Is there any discussion on this?
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Favola.
Senator Sasslaw or Senator Barker, so this health commission or this committee that's going to look at mandated health insurance benefits.
I can't hear you.
the committee that's going to look at mandated health insurance benefits, is it a study commission or is it a
No, the Health Insurance
standing committee?
Reform Commission is a permanent establishment.
Okay, so if it doesn't necessarily mean that every bill would have to go there that deals with it.
If it concerns these topic areas, yes.
So it would be referred by the clerk of the
By the chair.
clerk of the Senate or the chair?
of the Congress
Okay,
and
but it would be at the chair's option
No,
to
I don't
refer.
think it's at the chair. If it deals with this, you'd send it to the Health Insurance Reform Commission first.
And then would the commit, I guess my question is, would the commission have time to review it during a legislative session, or would we have to come back the next session with a bill?
I suspect it would be the next session.
Okay.
By and large, what happens is reviewed and comes back to next
Madam Chair,
Senator Howe.
I just wanted, having experienced this multiple times, what happens currently is you put in a bill that gets referred to Commerce and Labor, and then they vote to refer it to the Mandated Benefits Commission. So what we're doing is I think, leapfrogging one of those many steps.
It'd save you the trouble of going through the committee hearing and possibly a floor vote. So it would go first to that commission. That way, it would probably provide a better system of evaluating these bills and then hearing them for the first time.
Okay, Doug, do you have anything to add very quickly?
No, we're supportive. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Motion on Senate Bill 1473.
I'll move it be reported.
Second. Then seconded that Senate Bill 1473 be reported. Please vote.
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
I'm not getting a screen here.
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. Okay, so now we move to SJ 288. Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a long time working on this bill, but SJ 288 is a resolution to name Barbara Rose John to represent the Commonwealth of Virginia in the Statuary Hall collection at the U.S. Capitol. Just a bit of background, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This resolution transmits to the architect of the Capitol of Virginia's decision to contribute to statue of Barbara Rose John to represent Virginia in the Statuary Hall collection in the United States Capitol. Barbara Rose Johns of Prince Edwards County, Virginia, was a civil rights hero and organizer of the walkout that ignited public school desegregation in the Commonwealth and the United States via the Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board of Education. Since 1936, each U.S. state has contributed 2 statues for the Statuary Hall collection in the U.S. Capitol. Virginia is currently represented by George Washington. Virginia's second statue, Robert E. Lee, sent in 1908, was removed from the Capitol on December the 21st, 2020. For many, Robert E. Lee represents a painful and divisive past. The statues in the U.S. Capitol must represent an inclusive Virginia that is welcoming to all, and for that reason, the Lee statue must be replaced. In 2020, the Virginia General Assembly passed legislation creating a commission on the statue in the U.S. Capitol. The commission was formed in July and has met 5 times. After robust discussions and public comment, the commission decided to remove the statue of Robert E. Lee and to recommend that the statue of Barbara Rose Johns replace it. This resolution satisfies the requirements set by federal code regarding contributions to the Statuary Hall collection. To date, 8 statues in the National Statuary Hall have been or are in the process of being replaced as verified by the Office of the Architect. Virginia will be the 9th. On April 23, 1951, 16-year-old Barbara Rose John led a student walkout at Robert Rosa Moulton High School in Farmville, protesting the overcrowded and inferior conditions of the all-black school compared to those of white students at nearby Farmville High School. Her actions garnered support of the NAACP lawyers Spotwood Robertson and Oliver Hill, who took up the cause and filed a lawsuit that would later be one of the 5 cases the United States Supreme Court reviewed in Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, when it declared segregation unconstitutional. Historians consider John's protest a pivotal moment that launched the desegregation movement in America. Pursuant to federal law, the General Assembly must ratify the decision and transmit that approval to the Joint Committee on the Library. If ratified, the General Assembly, Barbara Rose Johns, will be the first African-American teenager represented in Statutory Hall. Madam Chair, unless there are speakers, I would move that the resolution be reported.
Second.
Okay, we do not have any speakers in queue. So the motion is to report.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I believe there's a technical correction that has to be made in the,
Okay.
and that would, I think there was a substitute that would change the memorializing language to authorizing language.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I do believe that is correct, but in our investigation, Senator Locke and I were concerned about the memorializing, and we understood, or it's our understanding now, that to memorialize it to the Congress, which is where this is going, was appropriate. So the memorializing language is appropriate as opposed to authorizing.
Right.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to
Report.
Amigo messed me up. We have a motion to report Senate Joint Resolution 288. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. The motion to report is approved. Okay, we now move to Senate Joint Resolution 323, which is my resolution. Okay, this resolution came to me by way of Senator Peterson.
Yes, ma'am.
From one of my former students,
Yes, ma'am.
who actually is the town manager of Vienna. And I believe you have Mercury on the phone.
Yeah,
Mercury Payton is a former student of mine, and he came up with this idea of making a Liberty Amendments Month. And this will be a celebration of the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th, and 19th Amendments of the United States Constitution. And these 4 amendments provide voting and other rights that allow each citizen to participate in governance of their state and country. And these 4 amendments provide equal freedoms to all citizens of the United States, regardless of race, color, sex, or the country from which they or their ancestors came or how they came. These 4 amendments allow citizens the freedom to recognize their ancestral culture while integrating its strengths into the American culture. The United States is strengthened and enriched by the diverse cultures of its citizens' ancestors. The equal rights and freedoms granted by these 4 amendments deserve to be remembered, honored, and reflected upon and celebrated. So Liberty Amendments Month would designate June 19th through the 3rd Monday in July in 2021, and in each succeeding year as Liberty Amendments Month in Virginia. And so that's what this SJ 323 will do. And I will now ask Senator Peterson if he has any additional
Thank you,
comments.
Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I want to, my constituent and friend, Mercury Payton, this was his idea. He is the town manager of Vienna. He did reject my idea of adding the 21st Amendment, which re-legalized alcohol, but he kept it focused on voting and civil liberties, and I congratulate him for his discretion. Mercury, I just got a text. He had to be somewhere at noon, but I do have the mayor of Vienna, Linda Colbert, who's there to speak on his behalf, which is actually good because that way I can embarrass him by saying, Mercury's a fabulous town manager, and he's been a great leader in our community. So with that, I do have Linda Colbert, the mayor, on the line, Madam Chair.
So if we could bring her in.
Madam Chair, I do not see her on the call. I do see Mercury Payton on the call.
I think that's actually Linda, but if you could bring up Mercury then.
Mercury?
Can you hear me? I don't know how I can get the video on.
It's all right. Just talk, Linda.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, so much for allowing me to speak today. Mercury did have to leave, but I just wanted to speak a little bit to it. This last summer, against the backdrop of the loss of Black lives and encounters with law enforcement, the resulting unrest and our nation's overall atmosphere of divisiveness, our town manager, Mercury Payton, had an idea that he believed would help unite our country in celebration of 4 constitutional amendments that together would make good on the founders' original promise to provide liberty and freedom for all. It's a month that would celebrate the 13th Amendment, which actually ended slavery in the United States, as well as the 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments. So these amendments provide voting and other rights and allow each citizen to participate in governance in the state and the country. And these 4 amendments provide equal freedoms to all citizens of the United States, regardless of race, color, sex, or the country from which they or their ancestors came from. And these 4 amendments allow citizens the freedoms to recognize their ancestral culture while integrating its strengths into the American culture. The United States is strengthened and enriched by the diverse cultures of its citizens' ancestors. The equal rights and freedoms granted by these 4 amendments deserve to be remembered, honored, reflected upon, and celebrated. Our nation is deeply divided among many different lines, and we need to consider things that we can all celebrate and be encouraged by. These 4 amendments, it doesn't matter where you live, what your political affiliation is, or what your ethnicity is, these 4 amendments grant freedoms and liberties to all of us. So this would be a month-long celebration, and I have and we would start on Juneteenth and would end the 3rd Monday in July. And if you don't mind, I have our Parks and Rec director here, and she would just explain how the town of Vienna is going to celebrate.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm a little bit of sort of deference. I would just tell Madam Mayor, I think we're going to be in good shape. So
Okay.
Thank you. I think
All right,
I think we've got the information we need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pearson. Thank you.
Okay, and with that,
I move we
like to-
report it.
And it's been moved and seconded that SJ 323 be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so that's reported. So I think that,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I have one additional item to add to SJ 288. So I may need to,
We can do that on the floor because we're done right now.
okay, because the only thing we have to do is just agree to the substitute because we needed to mirror the House.
Okay, we have
Yeah,
to
so
do
we
it
do
on the
floor
floor.
substitute. Okay.
Okay, I think that completes our docket.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second place we